Reporter reveals what will unlock the New York Mets. Steve Gelbs voiced his opinion on the matter on X, and this opinion should be a surprise to nobody because fans know exactly who needs to step up in order for this team to be successful here in 2025 and hopefully win it all, which is exactly what we're going to talk about only on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. We're going to talk about this comment from Steve Gelbs, but first, we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being the fact that 69.9% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here in Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And we are going to kick it off with the comment itself. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Steve Gelbs, he is an SNY reporter. He does play-by-play commentary, but a lot of sideline reporting. And therefore, he talks to a lot of players and a lot of coaches. So he definitely knows his stuff. He does his homework. And he took to X to respond to some comments on the day of the trade deadline, July 31st. Now, as you see at the bottom of your screen, there is a comment that he was replying to. And this is the one that we're going to talk about in today's video, and the comment says B+ grade. This commenter is giving the New York Mets and David Stearns a B+ overall grade for their trade deadline. Of course, the four acquisitions that they got were Tyler Rogers, Ryan Helsley, Gregory Soto, and Cedric Mullins. My opinion in just a little bit. In fact, you can check out plenty of videos that Adam and I have done for our opinions on these specific acquisitions. But to continue with the comment, he says the lineup isn't better, and that was the issue going in. Now, my initial response would be there really was no other way to improve the lineup besides getting a center fielder. That was their only need in the lineup when it came to offense, was a center fielder. Other than that, you have too much of a jam up in the infield. That's actually forcing a jam up at the designated hitter role, and both of your corner outfielders are set for years and years to come in Brandon Nimmo and Juan Soto. So really, the only thing they could have addressed was center field, and that was what David Stearns did. Again, check out my videos if you haven't already. I gave the Mets overall an A. I think they could have gotten an A+ if they addressed the starting pitching need, but that is for another video. Of course, Frankie Montas was absolutely horrible yesterday. He was basically throwing batting practice in a blowout loss to the Giants. But to go ahead with the point of today's video and this comment, Gelbs responded saying, I've seen this a lot today, but I have to disagree. The issue with the lineup isn't depth. It's the stars being in a collective slump. No deadline addition can solve the offense if Lindor, Alonso, and Soto keep struggling the rest of the way. The good news, that won't happen. Well, it has happened so far, as all three of these guys are in massive slumps. Francisco Lindor is one of the better of the three in terms of his slump, but over the last 15 days, he's only hitting .211 with an OPS of .556. As for Pete Alonso, 149 batting average and a .569 OPS, and Juan Soto is the worst of the three, which is kind of funny because everyone's saying, oh, Francisco Lindor's in this bad slump. Look at the hitless streak that he had. Pete Alonso's not in a good stretch either. Nobody's even really talking about Juan Soto, and he's been the worst out of the three with a 139 batting average and .497 OPS over his last 15 days. Less than a .500 OPS. All three of them have been really, really bad, and they are three of the four Fab Four. Of course, a while back, our owner, Steve Cohen, said phenomenal win tonight led by the Fab Four. He is saying the Fab Four is Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Brandon Nimmo. Well, all of them are basically in slumps. So Nimmo has been doing pretty well of late, but the other three, as we know, are in really, really bad slumps. And this team is reliant on the Fab Four. And at bare minimum, everyone in the Fab Four but Nimmo. And Nimmo right now is the only one hitting out of the group. Don't believe me? Well, here's the New York Met record when each of these players don't get a hit, and then when a combination of them don't get a hit. When Brandon Nimmo doesn't get a hit, the Mets are actually the best out of the Fab Four, but are still below .500. Anything in red is a below .500 record, which, as you can tell, is every single item on the list. A .424 winning percentage when Nimmo does not record a hit, .400 when Lindor doesn't get a hit. Juan Soto not getting a hit results in a .395 winning percentage. And Pete Alonso is the one that they are most reliant on to get a hit. Just a .385 winning percentage when Pete does not get a hit. As for the rest of the guys, and this is only when they record one at-bat. Minimum is one at-bat here. And if you get no hits, you qualify on this list. So Nimmo and Lindor combined not getting a hit with at least one at-bat each. 167 winning percentage. That is terrible. They're 2-10. 308 for Nimmo and Soto, 273 for Nims and Alonso. Lindor and Soto also not good at all at 3-13, 188 winning percentage. Lindor and Alonso are actually the best duo, but still 7-12 for a 368 winning percentage is nothing to write home about. And Soto and Alonso 4-16 with a 200 winning percentage. Now, I know you could say that math is part of this factor. Wouldn't it only make sense that when more guys in the lineup are not getting hits, it gives less opportunities to the rest of the lineup because there's always going to be 9 guys in the lineup every single day? Yes, math works as an argument for this, but it just would not result in these sheer numbers if you took, for example, Brett Baty and Luis Torrens. It would not result in these significantly lower numbers, proving how reliant this offense and overall team is on the Fab Four. Even worse, let's try a combination of when the 3 of them are hitless. Nimmo, Lindor, and Soto hitless in a game. The Mets are 0-6. They haven't had a win. When Nimmo, Lindor, and Soto are hitless, the Mets have not won a baseball game. Nimmo, Lindor, and Alonso, 1-5. Nim, Soto, and Alonso, 1-6. Lindor, Soto, and Alonso being hitless, the 3 big parts of the Fab Four being hitless, is actually the best at 2-8, a 200 winning percentage. But again, that is simply not good. When at most one of the Fab Four members has 1 hit or more, the New York Mets are 3-16. Their only wins came on July 22nd, 21st, and 20th against the Angels twice and the Reds, 3-2 twice and 7-5 once. Not good at all. In fact, let's talk about when the Fab Four is hitless. When Brandon Nimmo does not record a hit with at least 1 at-bat, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, and Pete Alonso have at least 1 at-bat, and they do not record a hit. Well, they're 0-4, and they are outscored 27-9 as a team. This team is reliant on the Fab Four, and this doesn't just hurt them and their batting averages, it hurts everyone else in the lineup. Look at this. This graph represents how the rest of the lineup does when either 3 or all 4 of the Fab Four members are hitless. And as you can tell, a lot of them are worse. The green means that the stats are better when the Fab Four, or at least 3 members of the Fab Four, are hitless. Green means that the player is doing better than how they are doing overall for the season. Red means they are worse, and look at how much red there is. Yes, Mark Vientos is doing better when the Fab Four is not doing well. Oh well, that's one guy, and it makes sense because the Fab Four has been doing really, really poorly of late, and Mark Vientos has been doing really well of late, so that correlates. And the other guy that has all green is Luis Angel Acuna. He's not even on the roster anymore. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of the guys. Yes, Tyrone Taylor with an 80 better OPS. Okay, Tyrone Taylor really hasn't hit all season. That is not significant. What is significant is that your big pieces of the lineup, for the most part, are doing worse when the Fab Four isn't hitting. Jeff McNeil, 33 OPS points below his season average. A 763 OPS when the Fab Four isn't hitting. Obviously, 33, nearly 800 OPS overall this season. He's having a nice year. Francisco Alvarez, he's got an OPS above 700. It is 177 points below when the Fab Four isn't hitting. Luis Torrens, nearly 300 OPS points worse. Ronnie Mauricio is down by about 40. Brett Baty, a full 100 OPS points below. That's significant. Brett Baty's been a pretty big part of this lineup. Starling Marte, he has also done really well this year. 158 OPS points below. And overall, the New York Mets have a 10-point worse batting average, 32-point worse OBP, 73 worse slugging percentage, and 105 points worse in their OPS when the Fab Four isn't hitting. This is not just coincidence. Math cannot describe this. It is just a reliancy on the big guys to perform, and they haven't been doing that of late. But overall, they're having nice years. Brandon Nimmo, nearly an 800 OPS, a 260 average, basically 20 homers, 63 RBIs, a lot of stolen bases too. He's been running this year. Francisco Lindor, he started in the All-Star game. He's been solid. Juan Soto had an absolutely incredible month and a half, had a historic June. Pete Alonso had a phenomenal first half. All of these guys are really good baseball players, but the Mets are so reliant on them that when they struggle, the rest of the team struggles. And all of these stats have proven this to you throughout today's video. And this is even worse when you go ahead and look at their contracts. I have Juan Soto's up, but it's just the amount of money that these guys are owed. Obviously, they need to be the powerhouses of this team. Pete Alonso on a 2-year, $54 million contract. That's Mets $27 million. Brandon Nimmo, 8 years, $162 million, 20.25 a year. Francisco Lindor, 10 years, $341 million, 34.1 a year. Juan Soto, the largest contract in sports history, 15 years, $765 million. When you add it up, all four of these guys combined are worth $1.322 billion with a B. $1 billion. On average, they are making $132.5 million a season. They are costing over $125 million this year, and they are not performing of late. There's a reason why the Mets have a reliancy on these guys. It makes sense. That is simply how their roster is panned out. And look at this. The team control, they're going to be relied on for the next years and years, even a decade to come when it comes to Juan Soto. Look at the two top guys, Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor. This stat from FanGraphs goes all the way out to 2031, and Soto and Lindor are still under contract. Lindor is not a free agent until 2032. Juan Soto, 2040. Obviously, there's a reliance on these guys. They have to get out of the slump, and like Steve Gelb said, they cannot have collective slumps or else this New York Mets team will not succeed. So go down there in the comment section. Let me know if you agree with Gelb's comment and my rationale as to why the Fab Four is this New York Mets team. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree down below. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in today's video. Thank you so much as always for watching, and let's go Mets.